Hello, Hoopheads! Tips and streams are back in action. Get ready for the lowdown on today's early games. We're lining up predictions for 4 sizzling NBA matchups. And don't worry, we'll drop the scoop on the remaining 5 games of the day at the usual hour. No need to wait any longer, let's jump right into it. The first today's prediction is for the matchup between San Antonio Spurs and Cleveland Cavaliers. Kicking off with the San Antonio Spurs, they're facing a tough dribble this season. With a scoreboard flashing 5-29, it's clear they're struggling to sink shots at both ends of the court. They're putting up an average of 111.24 points per game, which is pretty solid, but their defense is leaving them exposed. Shooting at 45.52% from the field and 34.23% beyond the arc highlights their offensive hurdles. They're pulling down an average of 42.97 boards and dishing out 29.06 assists per game, showing they've got a game but are missing the mark when it counts. The Spurs are also dealing with injury woes. Doug McDermott and Malachi Branham are on the fence, and with Zach Collins benched, their depth and scoring choices are taking a hit. On the flip side, the Cleveland Cavaliers are cruising with a 20-15 tally. Scoring 113. 12 points per game, they've got a slight edge over the Spurs on the offensive front. Their field goal efficiency of 47.48% and 35.02% from downtown shows they've got a sharper attack. They're also out-rebounding the Spurs with 44.56 per game and keeping up a strong assist average of 26.53 per game. But it's not all smooth sailing for the Cavaliers. Ty Jerome's playing status is up in the air, and key players Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are out, throwing a wrench in their strategy. In head-to-head matchups, looking at the last 10 games, the Spurs clinched 4 wins and beat the spread, but in their last 5 games in Cleveland, they've won 2 and beat the spread 3 times. This gives the Spurs a slight edge in this specific face-off, despite their season-long struggles. The trends paint a picture too. The Spurs have a disappointing 1-9 record straight up in their last 10 games and are 1-13 on the road. However, they've defied odds with a 5-2 record against the spread in their last 7 road games against the Cavs. The Cavaliers, on the other hand, are 7-3 against the spread and straight up in their last 10, and they boast a strong 12-3-1 record against the spread in their last 16 Sunday home games. Looking at the stats, trends, and current form, I'm leaning towards a Cavaliers win. But giving the Spurs a double-digit point handicap seems excessive. The Cavs have the home court, better stats, and more consistent play this season. But the Spurs often beat the spread in Cleveland showdowns. The odds are tipping in favor of the Cavaliers with a 10-point spread, and the total points are pegged at 236.5. The Cavs' efficiency and depth should steer them to a win, but the Spurs' track record in Cleveland suggests they could turn this into a nail-biter. It's a tough call, but I'm backing the San Antonio Spurs to beat the spread with a +10. The next today's prediction is for the game between Portland Trail Blazers and Brooklyn Nets. The Trail Blazers roll into town with a shaky stat sheet, rocking only 9 wins against 25 losses. They've been scraping by with an average score of 108.39 points per game, and their shooting's been hitting just 43.71% from the field. Their 3-point game is sitting at 35.46%, decent, but it's not turning the tides. A red flag? Their recent away game slump, they've been coming up empty in their last 7 road battles. But they've got a history of bringing the heat in Brooklyn, nailing 6 out of their last 8 matchups there. On the flip side, the Nets are faring a tad better, holding a record of 16 wins and 20 losses. They're outpacing the Blazers with an average of 114.31 points per game, a field goal percentage of 45.82%, and edging them out in the 3-point department at 36.81%. They're also bossing the boards, averaging 46.83 rebounds a game, overshadowing Portland's 41.73. But it's not all smooth sailing. The Nets have hit a rough patch too, with just 1 win in their last 6 games and a shaky 1-6 record against the spread recently. Looking back, the head-to-heads in Brooklyn have slightly leaned towards the Trail Blazers, who've clinched 3 out of the last 5 games but only beat the spread twice. This, mixed with Portland's knack for upping their game in Brooklyn, adds an intriguing twist. Injuries could be a game-changer too. The Blazers might be hitting the court without aces like DeAndre Ayton and Matisse Thybulle, which could throw off their defense and rebound game. The Nets are down Ben Simmons, a hit to their lineup, but they've got depth to cushion the blow. Both squads have been off their game lately, with the Blazers at 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, and the Nets struggling even more at 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. This unpredictability makes the game a tough call, but the Nets' better scoring, shooting, and rebounding stats could tip the scales in their favor, especially on their home court. The betting line opened with the Nets as 7-point favorites, a bold move given both teams' recent forms. The total points set at 225.5 is a head-scratcher, considering their scoring habits and defensive hiccups. So, who's gonna reign supreme? With the Nets' home court edge, solid stats, and the Blazers' away game blues, my money's on Brooklyn. They should not only snag the W but also cover the spread, thanks to their offensive firepower and the Blazers' potential lineup gaps. I'm backing the Brooklyn Nets to triumph and beat the 7-point spread. The next today's prediction is for the game between Atlanta Hawks and Orlando Magic. The excitement is palpable as we gear up for a high-voltage face-off. The Atlanta Hawks are swooping into Orlando with a less-than-stellar 14-20 record, while the Orlando Magic are riding high with a solid 20-15. Atlanta's firepower on offense is clear, racking up a hefty 122.56 points per game and eclipsing Orlando's respectable 113.80. The shooting accuracy is a tight race, though, with the Hawks netting 47.42% of their shots, barely ahead of the Magic's 47.01%. When it comes to raining threes, Atlanta again has the upper hand, sinking 36.64% compared to Orlando's 34.85%. The rebound battle is neck and neck, with the Hawks grabbing an average of 44.56 boards per game, just out-rebounding the Magic's 43.34. Both teams are slick with their passing game, with Atlanta dishing out 25.97 assists per game and Orlando right on their tail with 24.94. Injury-wise, the Hawks are down just to Andre Hunter, while the Magic's bench looks more concerning with Markelle Fultz, Anthony Black, Wendell Carter Jr., and Goga Bitadze on the questionable list, and Franz Wagner, Kevin Harris, Joe Ingles, Gary Harris, and Jonathan Isaac out of action. Looking at recent form, the Hawks have stumbled, going 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 and struggling on the road with a 2-11 record against the spread in their last 13 away games. In contrast, the Magic have shown steadiness, boasting a 4-1 record against the spread in their recent 5 and a commanding 10-2 at home in their last 12. Head-to-head, the Hawks have had the upper hand in recent encounters, clinching 8 of the last 10 matchups and 4 of the last 5 in Orlando, though they've only beaten the spread in 3 of those 5 Orlando games. The Hawks' scoring and three-point prowess seem to edge out the Magic's. Yet, Orlando's home court strength and Atlanta's shaky road spread record are factors to watch. With odds slightly favoring the Hawks at a -2-point spread and a high total points line at 240.5, a closely fought battle is anticipated. Considering all aspects, it looks like the Orlando Magic might snatch a win at home. They've shown grit on their turf against the Hawks team that's been wobbly on the road. Expect a score-heavy showdown, but with Orlando's home advantage and Atlanta's road struggles, the scales seem tipped in favor of the Magic. My money's on Orlando to beat the +2-point spread. The next today's prediction is for the game between New Orleans Pelicans and Sacramento Kings. Both squads are hitting the hardwood with stats nearly mirroring each other. The Pelicans are sitting pretty at 21-15, while the Kings hold court at 21-13, promising a showdown that's nothing short of epic. Home turf might give the Kings a leg up, but let's ball deep into the stats to see if they can really slam it home. On the scoring front, the Kings are nailing it with a slick average of 118.26 points per game, just outshooting the Pelicans at 115.31. Both teams are dropping buckets with style, but the Pelicans are edging out the Kings in field goal and three-pointer precision, promising a shootout that's sure to keep the scoreboard ticking. Rebounds are a tug-of-war, with the Pelicans snatching 44.33 per game, and the Kings just a breath behind at 43.94. With the Nets likely to keep swinging, those rebounds could turn the tide. The Kings are dishing out more assists, hinting at some smooth passing plays and solid teamwork. Recent form? Both teams are on a tear, going 4-1 in their latest face-offs. But the Pelicans are road warriors, dominating their last 5 away games. They've also got the Kings' number, leading 6-2 in recent dust-ups. The Kings, however, have been owning January, banking 10 wins in their last 14 this month. Zion Williamson's iffy status for the Pelicans could throw a wrench in their game, while the Kings are locked and loaded with a full roster. Down the stretch, that could be the game-changer. The Pelicans have been kings in Sacramento, winning and beating the spread 3 times in their last 7 visits. Despite the Kings' home court, the Pelicans have shown they can rule in this domain. Odds are leaning towards the Kings with a -3.5 spread and a sky-high over-under of 234. But don't count out the Pelicans, with their road hustle and track record against the Kings. Wrapping it up, this clash is anyone's game. The Kings have home court and scoring swagger, but the Pelicans' grit on the road is no joke. Watch for sharpshooting and rebound hustle to tip the scales. My bet is on the Sacramento Kings to snatch the win and cover the -3 spread, in a game that's sure to be a high-flying scoring frenzy.